It's a privilege to introduce your guest speaker tonight. I've known him for at least 10 years. Feels like 100. Not only is he a great guy and a great drummer, and he was almost a millionaire once too, I understand. That's a story for another day. But knowing Gary as I have in the last 10 years, I've witnessed his perseverance. And we all know that trying to walk the narrow road is not always easy. There's struggles. There are times when we're sort of walking beside the narrow path with one foot down the gully and stumbling over things and whatnot. But we're always, hopefully scratching back to get back on the narrow path. And I admire Gary for sticking with it and doing that over the years. He's taught me a lot as well about the journey and how to stick to it, even before the great ordeal that he's been through. It's a real test of faith. And he's committed to being a great dad. He's got two beautiful young kids. I know he's committed to being the best husband he can be, making his marriage the best it can be, trying to apply a lot of the things we learned in the men's ministry. And now tonight we're going to learn something from him, because he's got just an inspiration with what he's been through and how he's come through it, and the lessons that he can share with us. So I consider it an honor that he thinks I'm his friend. I mean that I'm his friend. And I introduce to you tonight Gary Norris.
Well, I wanted to talk all about my story that I've had for a year, but I have to kind of start by saying that my talking is fairly good, but I might lose where I'm at and have to think about it for a second. So maybe there'll be a little post, a little moment I'll have to stop for a second and think, stuff like that. But my name's Gary Norris. I've been a member here since '97. I have an engineering degree from Northeastern. Everything up to a year ago seemed to be going pretty well, except that I was gaining weight, maybe 20% overweight. Credit cards were costing more. We were saving a lot of them. There's a lot of stress about that. Although there was good money coming in, there was a lot of stress over it. We were spending more. So
the American way.
And my days, an 8-hour job, an hour travel each way, spending as much time as I could with the kids, but not spending as much as I hoped to spend with the kids. And of course, something that I've been doing a lot is cracking my neck all the time. So I won't say anything about that, but that's what I was doing a lot. And something else that I said kind of prior to this is my relationship with God wasn't very good. I had a great time with Jesus, but God, I was always mad at that he was messing with me. And I just figured, say things to God that I just wasn't happy with him. So we'll move up to June 10th of last year. I had softball that night and band practice that night. I wasn't feeling very well, but I went to the band practice with the side thinking about possibly canceling. I was going to call Donnie and ask if I could cancel for the night. But I thought about it. So I went to softball practice and got on there and did some practice swinging the ball. Did really bad. Get all upset. Threw my bat and slammed it on the ground. So I was not in the right place head-wise. So I called Donnie and decided to say, Donnie, I'm going to cancel. I'm not going to come tonight. I'm not feeling very well. I don't really want to be here tonight. I want to spend time with my kids. But then we were talking and I kind of felt like, all right, maybe we'll go. So I said to Donnie, all right, I'll be there. So I got a sub for myself, and we got here, did the practice, went home, and went to bed. But apparently I threw up last night, but I don't remember that. So I went to bed. Since I had thrown up, my wife got out of my room and stayed in my daughter's room, which is right next to the bathroom, which is across from my bedroom. So the 11th, 6 o'clock in the morning, I get up to go to the bathroom across the hall. And as I'm about to go to the bathroom, I leaned over and felt something crack in my neck somewhere. And I slowly went down and kicked a thing that was on the ground. A stool. Thank you, Hal. I knocked a stool over, which gave a little bit of noise. And my wife was kind of half awake. And it's weird that she heard that and she got up. She got up to see me, when she could have just rolled over and gone back to sleep, but she decided to get up and see me. So I'm laying there and she asked me, what's going on? What are you doing thinking I'm being a clown? And I didn't say anything. And she said, what's the matter? Try getting up. So I tried and couldn't. And shortly after, she called EMS, I got there, and shortly after that, I faded out. I don't remember leaving the house with EMS. So I was gone. And at that point, I was asleep, I guess. So they took us to Parkland. They had done a check of my brain, and they had a choice to make over what's going on in my head. First of all, can we look at number 1 video, Rick?
All that green is tissue death. Go on to the next one. And if you see that white section in the middle, it's going kind of sideways. That's from swelling and pushing across the midline of his brain into the other section of his brain. Go to the next one. And that whole red area, some of that area there should have had open holes. On one side, the right side of his brain, it was open, allowing the fluid to drain. The left side was completely shut. And then the last one. And this is just a different type, but those bright white is where he ended up developing bleeds in his brain. And to let you know, it's absolutely amazing what God did, what he put in place for me to find him that morning.
At this point, they had to give me TPA, I think it's called, where but they couldn't give it to somebody who's already had a stroke the night before. So my wife was asked, you take this now, you could die from it, or it could save you. So she had a lot to think about, my wife did. She thought, well, 6 a.m. he actually got up and walked across the hall, okay, to the bathroom. So he was walking okay up to that point, so I said, give it to him. So at this point, I'm still out, my head is full of whatever, my right arm and leg aren't working at all. And so apparently that stuff began to work for me. My legs started working first, my arms started working better, my hand came back, and my head came back. So I thank God. God had a lot with that. And not to mention, the place was full so many people and so many family members that were there praying for me. It was amazing. My parents came up and they were just amazed at all the people there for sharing me. It was so powerful. Okay, at this point, we transported down to Boston because I guess they have better things that they can do down there. More testing is better down there. My wife was, doctors would come in and ask me all sorts of questions, and the questions were all kind of silly because they'd say, raise your right arm, and I'd raise it, raise your left arm, and I'd raise it. And my wife said, put your hands in your hands and ask it. So they did, and he said, you touch your nose, and I did something that wasn't that. I was like, I had no idea. And I'm like, oh, what's going on with you? So because I looked fine, but there was a lot of things that weren't going on upstairs. They weren't working. So at that place, I had a lot of doctors coming in and asking me all sorts of questions and stuff like that. And in the meantime, I asked Sherry if I could get a radio and get a book. Because I really just wanted to listen to radio, listen to my favorite things, talk radio. I listened to Rush and Howard all the time, and I just wanted to hear them, and a book to read. So she brought them, and I turned on the radio, and I'm listening to it, but it's kind of hard to explain, but I couldn't get what he was saying. He said a word, and I didn't get the word. It didn't connect to me. And then someone would say another word or say something else, and I'm like, okay, what is he talking about? And at that point, I was so far behind the conversation that it wasn't worth the time to have the radio on, so I turned the radio off and turned on the TV. I decided to pull up the book, and that was really difficult to look at. I kind of opened it up and look, I can see all the words, I can read all the words in it, but I can't read it. And it's extremely difficult. I'd say one word at a time. But after one page, I was exhausted. So it's like, forget the book, I'll put the TV back on and take naps. It was really kind of lousy. But I was getting up to go to the bathroom myself, so things were improving in Boston. So next they sent me up to Salem, New Hampshire for the New England rehabs. So I was there for a week maybe, and it started, I had a PT there that was walking me around and testing some things, and I was getting my strength back on the right side, which was good. But one of the helpers one of my friends that were helping, that were coming in, they'd say things to me, and I wouldn't really not know what they were saying, or I did, but it's kind of weird. I got something funny to tell Hal at this point. Yeah, we're right here for this.
It was amazing to me. You see Gary here talking to you, you understand what he's saying. You see Gary talking in front of you today, and you understand what he's saying. I went to Parkland, and I was hoping to, first of all, I was hoping he was okay. And then when he started talking to me, I thought, wow, this is amazing. He's all right. He's coming through this fine. And he's such a good faker. He's trying to tell me to get something from his house to bring in. We spent half an hour. He would say, and I'm not making fun of him. What I'm trying to do is explain how amazing it is, the progress he's made. He says, bring me. Okay, bring you something. Yard. Oh, the yard? There's something in the yard you want? Okay. Well, what is it? And he's like going like this. Thinking, okay, is it a box? He said, yeah. All right. Well, where in the yard is it? He says, Pritch. I'm trying not to act too, I don't want to bump porch? It's on the porch. Okay, well, this kind of thing went on for half an hour. I finally think that he means to bring in some kind of a book or something from work. But I had a brilliant idea. I said, you know what, Gary? I know. Here's a piece of paper and pen. Just write it down for me. Right? He lights up like, yeah. He takes the paper and he got the pencil. He's working at it. I'm waiting anxiously to find out what this mystery is after a half an hour. And he's going at it. He's all excited. He's making all these letters and he takes it, hands it to me with this big look on his face. I look at it. P-R-R-T P-Q. Okay, Gary. I said, don't worry. Obviously, you used the word Swahili, and it's just coming back to you.
Okay, you go say it. I couldn't write back then at all. It's very, very funny now. But at the time, I thought I was writing, get me the Bible. I wanted my Bible, but apparently I didn't, right? So things weren't going well in this place for me. At night I had a quiet time, so I went down to the computer area, sat at my computer. There's an open computer in this place. That's great, so this is good. I can pick up on some news and check up on some things. So I sat down at the computer, and I couldn't remember any name. I couldn't remember Yahoo, the Drudge. I couldn't remember anything. I couldn't remember my role where I had for my stuff. So I just kind of stared at it for a while and kind of got up and walked back to my room and put on the TV. Watched on the Red Sox. So I watched a lot of Red Sox that time. All right, so, and finally I got sent out. I was taken out, or let out, and sent home. So I started with on the 30th with a woman named Lisa, who's great. She's so perfect at this. She's just so good. And speech therapist. You know about my speech therapist. So, because my reading was awful, but my writing was atrocious. I was calling my daughter Alicia, I was calling her Lynn all the time, which is my sister's name. I just called her Lynn all the time, which really upset my wife. But it's like, I'm sorry, which I don't do anymore, but it really bothered me at the time. And the worst thing was, I'm hearing things that aren't being said at the time. My wife would say something, and I would think she would say something else, which is very difficult. It really was a difficult time. Can you put in number 2, Rick? This is just some of the things that I feel like, oh, you can't really go to. But it's things that don't really make a lot of sense. My street, 19 Thompson or something. Linda, you can see Linda. So I was trying to write my daughter's name. Well, I'm trying to write my street name, and I still couldn't do it. This is some things that I kind of filled out. You know, you can go take your own movie kind of thing, or yard at first. Or he fell and broke his coat, which we corrected his arm. You know, various things like that. But this is my favorite one on the bottom, which I'm glad I got right. Sunday I go to church. Because there was a lot of tested times right now for God. We feared a lot of things right now because we had until December 20th to get my job back. And so it's August now, or July, and I had to, that time, to get my job back. Well, I thought I would get my job back, but my wife and Lisa, the therapist, knows that I wasn't going to go back. I knew, you know, I'll get these things going, I'll write everything, I'll read, and I'll get my thinking back. You know, I'm going to get my job back. But we had to do a lot of things planned, which my wife was very stressed about, and I wasn't going to go back. Can you put in number 3, Rick?
Them after me.
Sentences.
Yep. You know how.
You know how.
The vat leaks.
The vat leaks.
Good. Down to earth.
Down to earth.
Lines are sour.
Lines are soured.
I got home from work.
I got home from work.
The spy fled to Greece.
The spy fled to Eeks.
Okay. You should not tell her.
You should not tell her.
Pry the tin lid off.
Pry the tin something off.
Okay, good.
Ugh.
You're doing fine. Go ahead and do it if possible.
Go ahead and do it if it's possible.
It's okay. The Chinese fan had a rare emerald.
The Chinese fan had a Wayne. Don't know. But,
Okay, good. Near the table in the dining room.
Near the table in the diagram.
Okay. The barn swallow captured a plump worm.
The as a something. Blah blah blah.
All right, you're doing so much better
I
than you
heard
did.
it, but
yeah,
I can't
I know.
redo it.
That's the heart of the matter, isn't it?
Across the foggy
Okay.
heath.
The something hard. Hardly. I can't seem to repeat it. I heard everything you said, but I can't repeat it.
Yeah, I know. That's because of the kind of stroke that you had. You know, that's exactly the kind of thing that I would expect that you would still have difficulty with, even after all this therapy.
Yeah, I still get it
Yeah,
today.
still have difficulty with that. But what do you do when you have trouble with that?
You ask them to repeat it.
Yes.
Depending on the person is, you tell them that you had a stroke, and they'll do it. Even if they have to repeat 3 or 4 times, you write it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, people don't mind doing that.
Right.
I repeat things over and over and over. As a good example, I was on the phone with Comcast, working out some problems, and she's helping me, and I did what I'm told to do. I said, "Hi, I have stroke, so I need to repeat things." And she was so good about saying, "Sure, I have all the time in the world for you." So I was like, "Yes, this is great." So at this time, my wife's extremely stressed out. We're trying to get Social Security, trying to make sure our medical is going to be covered by us and we don't lose our house. There's a lot of difficult things at that time. These videos were made January 26th, so as I meant to mention. But also during this really stressed time, we'd always pay, we were paying in time. What I was paying before this all happened, we're keeping the amount the same. So we're doing that. We're taking a risk, but we know God is there for us. We're going to go with this. Okay.
Tell me what each of these things are. What is that?
It's a house.
Okay.
A comb. A toothbrush. An octopus. A bench. A
There you go.
volcano. A badge. Shoot.
It's a kind of animal, right?
Yes,
Tell me something about that animal.
well, he works. He looks in a little pond
Mm-hmm.
where he chops down the trees to build his homes in the pond.
Mm-hmm.
Pudge, patch.
He builds a dam.
Yes. What's the first letter?
B.
Yeah. Badget?
No, not a badger. B. A bee.
B.
B-E-A.
B-E-A. BEA?
Yep. A bee.
Beaver.
Got it.
That was it.
You got
A
it.
stethoscope,
Wow, very nice.
a unicorn,
Mm-hmm.
a
Simple word that I couldn't remember. Beaver or something like that, I couldn't remember the name, and I'm looking right at it. But stethoscope I still have. I don't understand why. Some big word, I guess. At this point, God was providing for us. My family was sending us money when they could. We had unknown people in our church that are giving money to Beth, and she's sliding it to us, and not telling us what they were, but people were helping us. It was so powerful that what people were doing. The amount of time we had this summer, we didn't have a lot of time. We had to drive. We had to go to my speech therapist's office, so people were watching our kids for free. It was amazing. I want to talk a little bit about my perspective on things, how much certain things don't feel like they used to feel. I have a room downstairs full of collectibles, and they're really cool. And I was going to hold them for my life, but now they don't feel what they feel before. It's hard to describe how they don't feel anymore. I'll share them I'll give them to my nephew or my son, or someone who really liked that kind of thing. I also wanted to help people that are dying, just go out and help people that are dying. And they sent me up a message or a meeting with Ed Moulton, who's dying. I'm not sure, I don't know what he's dying of. I don't care. But I meet with him every Wednesday, and we talk about sports and Red Sox. He loves the Red Sox, so I'll talk to him about it. I'll bring my cards over, and it's so much fun to share it with him in this time. It really makes me feel so full, like what I'm doing with him. There's such a time between me in the office, in the cubicle, and me here helping a man, making a living man feel good for the day, because he's dying.
Ask you is, what do you think that you have gotten out of speech therapy? Just,
oh my goodness.
I mean, how, what was it like for you at first, when you first started?
At first, it was kind of, this is fun.
Yeah.
Yuddy-duddy-doo. You kind of have this happy face.
Right.
And then I got very serious, and I got very sad.
Yeah.
I got hurt.
I remember
I was
that.
really hurting. That I
Right.
wasn't going to go back to school. I wasn't going to change as fast as I assumed I was going to change.
Right. Not back to school. What do you mean?
Back to church.
No.
Back to work.
Right.
Work.
Yeah, that was a big thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. But, there was something huge about my work that was not as appealing as it could, as it was. It was just money that was coming, that was paying for bills.
Right, but it didn't. You didn't really like what you were doing that
No,
much.
I really didn't.
Right.
But, I now have this opportunity to change something.
Yeah.
So.
That is one of the things. Maybe some silver lining in a cloud, in a big gray cloud. Maybe a little bit of silver lining.
Yeah. I don't need to be spending money on anything.
Right.
We have a house full of crap around my house. All the things we've been buying throughout the years.
Right.
What is this?
Yeah.
I'd like to just pay the bills and just do something more interesting for me.
And how do you feel about the progress that you've made up to this point? Do you know how much Can you tell that you're better?
It's hard because I'm me, and everything there are changes that are slow, and I'm seeing all of them, if you know what I mean. But people like my parents, my friends at school,
Not at
at church,
right.
all keep saying, "Whoa, I can't believe how much you've changed in this. Like you've taken up more words and more things like that."
Yeah.
So it's been very powerful.
Right. Right. You've learned a lot about yourself in this whole process.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a blessing for me. I mean, my dad, who's not saying "I love you," that kind of person. He's like the guy almost died on that thing.
That's
And
right. You
he's
did almost
like,
die.
he's totally changed. And he's always coming over to help and wanting to say, "Oh, I love you," and all this stuff. It's totally
Changed your
different.
relationship.
Yeah, I'd take anything for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
That really is
so
awesome.
powerful.
Wow. All right.
How I want to end this is, focus on a life that is led by God, on what really matters, and not on what really doesn't matter. 'Cause, I had it forced done to me to be in this place, and I see it now. God is so much more important than everything. You show those 2 questions, Rick? We have 2 questions yesterday. So I think we're done here.